to another episode of the I Am Undeniable podcast. I am your host, Alex, and I got a very special guest here. One of my guys, one of my boys in the Limitless coaching program. His name's Dustin. He's dropped 46 pounds, right?
Yeah, 46. I might have gained a few pounds over Christmas, though.
That's all right. But 46 pounds down in 9 months, which is no joke. He actually works with one of my head coaches on the team, David, and he is a thriving member of the community. Crushes it every single time. Is super consistent. Shows up to my coaching calls every single Wednesday, and we're here to bring him on to share his story, get an idea of kind of like where he started and like where he's at now. And I got a feeling like Dustin is going to drop some words of wisdom. All you guys today. So Dustin, why don't you give us an update here? Like, how are you? How's your day going? And first off, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thank you. So my day is pretty good overall. I woke up and I was around my family and just celebrating the rest of the holidays with them. And then I drove back to Calgary this morning and I had about 2 hours on the highway. It was great. So
I love that. I don't like driving. Like anything more than an hour, I can't do. I'm flying. Like I just totally hate it. But why don't you give us a little bit of an introduction for yourselves? Why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself? Like where are you from? Like how old are you? Like what do you do for work? A hobby about yourself? Like give us like a little bit of aspect like of who Dustin is.
All right. Well, I'm 33 years old and I was born in Calgary, Alberta. Sorry about the traffic.
All good, man. All good.
And when I grew up, I was really into sports. I played a lot of soccer. Most of my working career, I've been working in like driving, doing courier jobs and warehouse work. But about 6 years ago, I had a major setback in my mental health. And so I ended up in hospital. And it just wasn't great. But I learned a lot through the process about taking care of myself. Taking care of my physical health over the past year has done wonders for me. But I wouldn't say mental health is a joke. It's been a crazy ride for me. So.
Oh, you know what? Thanks for being open and sharing that. Like, I totally get where you're at with that. Like, I've had my massive mental health journeys as well. Like, I used to be on anxiety medication, depression medication. I've been seeing like counselors and who knows who for the last like 15 years. 100%. I have a lot of mental health battles myself. So I totally get that. I actually lost one of my childhood best friends last year due to mental health around in November.
No. I'm sorry to hear that.
No, thank you. But it is definitely something important and something that's not talked about a lot is men's mental health. And I think it's like such an important topic to talk about. So like, dude, thank you for sharing that. I think that's an important message to come across, how to work on your physical health and so forth. So when did you join coaching with us? Was it in January, beginning of last year?
Yeah, January of last year, yeah.
Cool. Funny to think about. It's almost been a year, right? Like it's been one heck of a journey.
It's so crazy.
Yeah. And like, not only like you dropped 46 pounds down, in my opinion, like your confidence is like changed as well. You got a different smile on your face. That's for sure. Right. So why don't you tell me about that? Like, where were you before we met you and got you started in January? Like, where were you at in terms of your fitness journey, your mental health, all that kind of stuff?
Oh boy, I was struggling in 2023 before I even started on the fitness journey. I was about 65 pounds heavier than I am now.
Wow.
I was at like 263 or 264. Yeah. And it was a lot of bad decisions. I was living with my dad and I was eating just complete garbage, and I wasn't worried about physical health, nothing like that. And then I moved to my mom's house, which is near Lethbridge. and I started having home cooked meals. And before I even started with Limitless, I had lost about 20 pounds. So between my journey with Limitless and the short journey before that, I've lost over 60 pounds.
60 pounds. Holy shit. I didn't know that. I didn't know you lost all this weight before us. That's cool.
Yeah.
So my question then is, like, you lost 20 pounds on your own. So why did you decide to like join us in January then?
I felt that I needed some extra support and extra push
Yeah.
to get my health back. And David just came across at the right time, and I couldn't say no. So so yeah, it's amazing how life works. All the little blessings that come our way.
Hey, you know what? I'm a very spiritual guy myself, and I'm a big believer in like the universe sends you messages all the time. And
Exactly.
it's weird enough. David was like a messenger from the God, that being like, "Oh, hey, I'm right here to help you out. Come join us." So, and I guess in the last like year, it's almost been a full year for you. Like while with us, like how was that journey like from you, like from the start till now? Like, what do you feel like that you struggle with the most compared to like now? Like, what? Tell us about the results, the journey. Give us an aspect of it.
Well, I would say before I started with David, I was still unsure of how much food I should eat
Yeah.
and what types of foods I should eat. And I feel like I struggled with that in the beginning, just keeping track of everything. And then, but the hardest part about this journey has been my back injury that that came around the end of summer. Um, I'd say it's been a struggle because I want to be at the gym. I want to be pushing myself, but I would say staying on top of my nutrition was huge. Um, I wouldn't be where I am right now without staying on top of that nutrition for sure.
Well, I like that you mentioned that, right? Like, I think there's like two important things you talked about. You know, learning about macros, learning about building a good relationship with food and what's in your food. I think like one of the biggest things why people gain weight, especially people with mental health. I'm not sure about you, but I ate my feelings away. That was my, yeah, totally like stuff in my face, right? As much as like anytime I felt like anything negative, I'm going to McDonald's, I'm eating, right?
Exactly.
I was like, yeah, right. So I'm assuming you can relate to that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And then the second thing that you built off was like the injury, right? But like, before we get into the injury, like why did you feel like counting macros and learning about like your food made such a big difference for you in your weight loss journey?
I would say it taught me not to overeat. You know, like just that little bit of feeling of hunger
Yeah.
left in your stomach is important. I'd say that nutrition makes you feel better. You have more energy. Um, and I think even when you have an injury, you should stay on top of that as well.
Oh, 100%. And like eating just good just makes you feel good. Like reduces cravings. You have way more. It's honestly a big difference when you go from eating shitty to like eating good. Like it's like a huge gap. And the funny thing is, I'm not sure if you can relate to this. You probably didn't even know what good felt like until you started eating good.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's so funny like how that kind of stuff works. And like you've gone through this massive journey, and like Dustin mentioned, he injured his back during summer in the middle of the program. And like unfortunately injuries happen. They don't happen often, but they do happen sometimes. And I'm like the injury king. Like I've like torn muscles. I've had a back injury for 2 years myself. The biggest one I've had was I torn my hamstring off the bone while water skiing. That was a bad one. And so for you, where did you find that? Obviously you struggled, right? Because you wanted to continue with your weight loss, right? And like keep going and keep progressing. But what kept you on track? Like, what allowed you to stick to your nutrition to make sure, like, you know what, like, we can make this happen, and eventually I'm going to get to this goal?
Well, I would say that is like fitness and nutrition it's like a science experiment. So like you have variables that you can control and variables that you can't control. So I couldn't control that I was injured, but I could control, for instance, like my water intake, and food, obviously, and some cardio. I also pushed myself to still do workouts at home, what my back could handle. But I would say now it's carried me to the point where I'm ready to return. So,
see, I like that. I told you had words of wisdoms, right? The drop for you guys, controlling your variables. And I think that's important, right? Especially with the January 1st coming up. You know, a lot of people get very overwhelmed with getting started on the fitness journey, doing all these sorts of things. But you got to control what you can control. Some things you can't control, right? But you were able to control going to the gym. You were able to control your mindset. You were in a community that kept you accountable. You had all these things that allowed you to keep control over this, right? Which is huge, 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 huge. A lot of people don't do that. So you should commend yourself for that. So my question is, like, you got started on your fitness journey before January 1st.
Yeah.
Right. And I bring this up is because 80% of people who start on January 1st will fail by the time February 1st happens. In the first 30 days, they're off the bandwagon. So why did you choose to get started before then instead on January 1st? Like, what was the reason? What was like that changing moment that you're like, you know what? It's time for me to lose weight and get in shape.
I guess I had it in my mind that if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this now, not later.
Yeah.
Because you can always just push everything off.
Yeah.
Right? You can give yourself a million excuses.
Yeah.
But it doesn't get you anywhere. You just stay stagnant. So it's important to follow your gut as well, and that's what I did.
I like that. So how much has like your fitness journey made an impact on your personal life? Because you talked about mental health at the very beginning. Like, what changed for you?
My confidence changed. I would say, like I said earlier, the energy that I have changed. There's lots of things that changed, but it gave me a reason to get out of bed every day.
Yeah.
Gave me a reason to push forward and to set goals. Yeah, that's what I'd say. Yeah.
It gave you purpose again, from what it sounded like.
Purpose, yeah.
I love that. So my question to you now is, what's next for Dustin? Like, what do you want to do?
I want to continue on my weight loss. I've been talking to David about that. I want to lose another, let's say, 15 to 20 pounds.
Oof. Yeah.
So I still got a ways to go. And then we were talking about it, and I might go on a bulking phase after that.
Oh, I like that. That, getting shredded and getting huge next. That's right?
Exactly.
So, obviously, January 1st is starting, right? And a lot of people are thinking about getting started on the fitness journey now. A lot of people. What are 2 pieces of advice you could give to the audience listening to this right now that they could take away from that?
2 things that I could give is consistency. I would say being consistent in your workouts, in your nutrition, in like macros, in your water intake. Consistency doesn't always have to do with fitness, though, as well. You can be consistent in other areas. I believe we should try and remain balanced. So I think balancing all areas of your life will give you the best outcome. And I would say don't give up on yourself. If you don't see your results right away, it doesn't mean they're not coming. Results happen over time. And so I would say just remain focused and believe in yourself.
I love that. Well, you heard it from the legend himself, Dustin. Dude, thank you so much for taking time out of your day, hopping on the podcast. If you guys got value from Dustin, let us know in the chat box. Send me a personal message. And yeah, we're out. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you, Alex.